drowning deaths, and I've stumbled across a couple new cases. Seamus Gray, who went missing after a night out drinking, and his body turned up in Lake Michigan. This was in 2023, I believe April of 2023. And then also in 2023, you have Noah Enos. And I believe with all of my heart that both of these men are victims of the same phenomena that took my friend Sly, and continue to take so many young men all over the United States, as far as I can tell, maybe even the world. But these are not drownings. These people aren't drinking alcohol and flocking to rivers and lakes and drowning themselves, separating from their friends, abandoning their plans, often not dressed for the weather conditions. That people aren't doing that, you know. I mean, like I've said this before, it's easy to assume when you don't know the person. It's easy to assume, oh, they must have went over there and fell through the ice, or they must have. But when you know the person, okay, let's put it in perspective for you. Let's say your best friend right now, whoever that is, goes missing. Okay? They find them in an area they would never be in, they would never go to, have never gone to, and they were underdressed, and it was freezing conditions, and you know, in some of these cases too, I think Seamus Gray's wallet was in a snowbank, his keys were by a dumpster, so you've got little details like this thrown in, and you're left there just with this blank slate trying to figure all this out. Would you assume that your loved one, as competent, as smart, as intelligent, as reliable as they are, made a mistake that resulted in the loss of their life? Or would you believe that something more sinister was at play? Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. People don't just walk to the water at 2 a.m. in the middle of the night after being out with friends and just slip and fall and hit their head. What are the odds of that's not happening? I cannot stress this enough, that this is the real phenomenon. These men are being murdered. And you know, these loved ones, the family and the friends, I've been through this, I've lived this. You go through so many stages of trauma, and it takes years and years and years to even digest this to a point where you can even really talk about it, you know. So I feel for these families that have just recently lost loved ones in the last year or two to this same phenomena, because their lives are changed forever now, and they will never be the same, and it's going to affect them. It might ruin some of them. It might completely destroy some of them, and that's sad and wrong, and justice needs to be served. What you're about to hear is a very emotional recording of the girlfriend of Noah Enos. She made this statement publicly to a news station.
I love you. Please come home. This is too real.
If you've lost a loved one to one of these mysterious drowning deaths, or what many have deemed the smiley face killers, then speak up, make your voice heard. Because this phenomena is very real, and it is still ongoing to this day, and people are losing loved ones, and there are people out there right now that don't know it yet, but they're about to lose their loved one in the same manner as this phenomena continues to this day. Most active in the winter months, which is the most unlikely time to be near the water. I just don't know how authorities give any credence to the idea that these people willingly went to these secluded areas and found a way to incapacitate themselves and drown or freeze to death or you know, I mean, can you imagine that happening to you? No, you wouldn't do that. You would, if you were cold, you would go where it's warm. If you were out with friends, you would stay out with your friends, or you would go home. The last thing you would do is wander off in an aimless direction with no destination in mind, and find a way from there to accidentally end your life. That is such a leap of of faith to believe that that's what's happening to these people. I don't believe it for a second, and I'll do everything I can to raise awareness about this and to start a movement and to get more people. I mean, there's got to be hundreds of families out there and friends out there that have gone through this, just like I did back in 2010. You guys have got to be out there, and I know it's tough to talk about. I know it's tough to think about. Um, I've had a lot of losses in my life that I don't like to talk about or think about, but um, but this is different because there are people out there losing their lives, and they're continuing to lose their lives to this day. We've got to stop this. We've got to figure out what is causing this, and we've got to stop it. So, like I said, if you've been a victim of any of this, speak up. There's platforms out there now. Make a TikTok video, make a YouTube video, post on social media, write to your police, write to your state, to your governor, to you. I mean, I don't know what it's going to take, but we can't just sit here and wait for the next person to go missing and then start looking in bodies of lakes and waters, because they already know. That's the thing about this, is by the time this even happened to my friend Sly, even before, even just in the first couple weeks that he was missing, there was people that have investigated this phenomena for years before I had ever knew anything about it, and before that situation that took place, that knew he was going to turn up in a body of water, and they were saying that to us. Oh, check the river, check the lake. That's where he's going to be, and that's a very defensive, offhands approach to figuring this out. I mean, you're just waiting for the next tragedy, and then saying, "I told you so." I mean, people are losing their lives. We've got to be proactive here, and take steps to stop the phenomena and catch whoever's behind it. So that's what we need to brainstorm. How can we catch these people? How can we get it on? How can we get this on film, or catch them on film the next time? Or, we're going to have to be strategic in how we figure this out. But right now, we're left with more questions than answers. And we need to change that. So, and talk to your kids. If you've got teenage boys, talk to them. Tell them, hey, look, there's a phenomena taking place in national parks, national forests, and to young men that are out drinking with friends. I mean, it's happening to just people all over, everywhere, all the time. They're disappearing. And you got to think beyond the realm of serial killer, because it could be bigger than that. But talk to them. Tell them, look, there's people that go missing, and even the best investigators in the world today can't figure out why or what happened, and what led to the circumstances of their death. So, make sure that your kids know, stay in pairs, stay together, do not separate. Do not separate for any reason, especially in the middle of the night, especially if you're out drinking, especially, um, and don't go to, why would you go into the middle of nowhere where there's nobody around, um, in the middle of the night, 2, 3 a.m., your friends are still back at the bar. I don't think these people are doing that. I don't think they're willingly doing that. And if they are seemingly willingly doing that, then we need to look at an aspect of maybe altered states of consciousness. Is something influencing these people from inside? I don't know. I'd love to hear your ideas. I'd love to hear other people's takes. I'd really like to hear from other friends of and family of victims. Tell me what your experience was. Tell me what they found and what they didn't found. What they didn't find in the case of your missing loved one. So we can help piece this together and maybe put together some pieces of evidence here, because there's each case is different, and there's got to be some form of evidence left behind. If we could just figure out what that is. Sly's case was pretty typical. His phone, his everything was in his pocket, his wallet. It had all the telltale signs of a drowning, but he had very little water in his lungs. They ruled it cold water immersion and drowning. They figured he fell through the ice and froze to death in combination of drowning. I just don't believe it. He would have never walked out on the ice. Would have never done that. You can't convince me for a second that Sly didn't want to go back to his hotel room anymore, didn't want to hang out with his friend that night anymore that he got the hotel room with, and just decided, oh, I'm just gonna not tell anybody and go back to Duluth, and instead of walking on the bridge or getting a ride, since it's 17 below and I'd freeze to death before I made it a quarter of the way across the bridge, maybe I'll just walk across the ice. What? No, I'm sorry. Keep thinking that. If you're one of those people that thinks, and I can't speak for all of them, I'm speaking for Sly. But if you knew Sly, if you know me, if you know Sly, and if you know our situation, if you think for a second that he lost his life as a result of his own actions, you're wrong. I'll look you dead in your eyes and tell you you're wrong. Anyways, it's an emotional subject. It's a touchy subject. People losing their lives, and authorities aren't doing anything about it. And there's very few people out here raising awareness about it. So, my hat's off to David Paulides. His Missing 411 series. I wish that guy would get a TV show. I wish I could be a part of it, because running down these cases and raising awareness about them is, I think, is a very important thing, and it's not happening. And that's why I made this, part of the reason I made this channel. All things high strangeness, consciousness, and missing persons segment. The missing persons segment is going to be huge, just because I've lived what it's like to go through that. So I have a very personal relationship with what it's like to know someone that has gone missing. And it hits home for me. So when I read about missing person cases, I really get into them. I investigate. I want to know every detail. I want to stand where they were when they were last seen. All of that. And I've done that with a lot of these cases. Daniel Robinson, I was out there. If you're familiar with the Daniel Robinson case in Arizona, I was out there, boots on the ground, searching in that area. I wanted to find something that maybe investigators missed. I still want to go back, but that's off topic. I hope y'all help raise awareness about this, and I hope y'all stay safe.